Hi everyone, Luke Hector here. Just a quick disclaimer about this episode. I made a bit of a critical mistake. I recorded it for about an hour and a half on Sunday morning, went through a ton of games, went through a ton of detail, only to find out that I hadn't plugged in my microphone when I was recording it. So all the sound came through my laptop microphone, which is disastrous, not just for quality, but also for the fact that it picks up the entirety of the fan noise. So I had a bit of a problem to sort out. Now, I have managed to clean up the background noise and I've managed to enhance the speech part through Premiere Pro's little sound editing software. And I think I've managed to fix it to the point where it's now suitable for podcast and YouTube viewing. But just in case you notice a little bit of a drop in quality, that is what happened. An hour and a half of stuff recorded through the wrong microphone, and I couldn't scrap it. There was too much discussed, and there was no way I was going to spend an hour and a half re-recording it. My throat would not have survived, and I would have just gone insane. So I had to make the best of it, but it should be fine for podcast viewing. It should be fine for YouTube viewing. It hopefully won't happen again, but that's just to let you know what happens. So thanks very much. Hope you enjoy. Take care. You're listening to The Broken Meeple Show, a podcast that speaks passionately about board games for the benefit of those who play them. My name's Luke Hector, best known for the Broken Meeple YouTube channel, and I'm an everyday gamer just like you. And I'll be talking about reviews, top 10s, and just about anything that connects me to board games. As long as I have a tea or coffee in hand, that is. So grab a cup, relax, and enjoy. And remember, it's only a game.
Hi folks, welcome to another Broken Meeple special episode. Yes, this is a special one. I don't know how long it will go on for though, but we'll just have to wait and see. This is recorded on the 26th of May, literally a few days before the Games Expo for the UKGE Expo 24 starts, which I will be attending from Thursday to Sunday, and as per usual, checking in the games, playing some games with people I know, and hoping to see a bunch of you fans there who just want to say hi and shake my hand and stuff. So, should be good fun, but certainly, I have to debate going to it each year because you don't get a huge amount of releases that I'm excited for, but also it's getting prohibitively expensive to go to each year because even though getting to Birmingham's not that difficult, you have to pay for the accommodation, which, unless you stay about 10 minutes away from the center, ends up being ridiculously over costly. I mean, if you try and stay at the NEC, anywhere close to the NEC, the hotel rates are just diabolical. Like, I would not pay those kind of hotel rates to, if you told me that some entity, some deity or something was going to the NEC and anybody who went there would get, personal enlightenment for the rest of their waking lives or something, like something that would never ever happen ever again, I still wouldn't pay the rates for the hotels to go and stay at the NEC Center to do that because it's just ridiculous. So it does get to that point where the cost is getting a little bit problematic. But I am going this year, so we'll just play it by ear for next year and going forward. But it is a good way to meet a bunch of people who watch the show. So there is still good reason to go to the show, even if it's not necessarily from a game perspective. But general health update, fine. I mean, wrist problems are subsiding a little bit. The left wrist, sometimes needs a bit of a exercise and stretching, but otherwise good. Throat should last fine today. I mean, it will just dry out because it's hot, because we are starting to get into that hot weather in the UK now, which makes me quite uncomfortable, but we'll have to just deal with it. And work-wise is still pretty dull as always, although I've got my appraisal on this week, straight after bank holiday. I'm not looking forward to that, because appraisals are basically all for one thing: to focus on the negatives. That's all appraisals are. You might spend 2 minutes going over, oh yeah, you've done well on this, and this. Right, now let's focus on the evil, nasty stuff. Yes, and it's just, that's all it is. Because an appraisal that is nothing but good doesn't exist, because the whole point is that they want to set you objectives to work on for the next year. You can't have objectives to work on if you've done everything right, because then you wouldn't have any objectives. So I just dread going to them. A lot of the stuff you have to prepare in advance, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years and that, it's all PR garbage, and I'm just really not looking forward to it. I mean, I'm not to the point of being too anxious about it. The anxiety isn't really flaring too much over it. I reckon it'll pass over. Really, what I'm more interested in is trying to get some unpaid leave, because I want to go on a holiday at the end of this year, and I can't with the crappy entitlement we've got for this shortened period. reasons I won't go into. So I'm trying to beg for some unpaid leave so I can take a holiday in December. But we'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, I'll deal with it. At least by the time that appraisal is done and dusted, everybody else's is like not till next month. So I'm getting mine in nice and early. And as a result, it means I should be able to just concentrate on the Games Expo without fearing that. So that'll all be well. Blog-wise, 23,406 subscribers. We've growth has slowed a bit in the last month. Hopefully that'll start picking up at some point. Content-wise, I've done a couple of shorts for watching the Furiosa movie, which is okay. I mean, I think some people are overrating it a bit just because, oh, look, it's the Mad Max universe again. Look, sand. Dune had sand. I love sand. Yeah, so that seems to be it. But it's a fine movie. But basically, Furiosa is if you took all the action out of Fury Road apart and maybe left in a tidbit of it, and then that's Furiosa. There's two good action scenes, or, well, one good action scene, another fine action scene, and then that's all the action in it. Anything else is really small tidbits, like, for the 30-second sequences or something. And they're not even that frequent. And this is a 2.5-hour movie. You will feel that length. 2.5 hours to tell a story that can be summed up in 2 sentences. That doesn't quite work it for me. But the rest of the channel, fine. Let's see. Unsettled. I have done the Unsettled review. Mostly likes, 2,000 views. Only released a couple of days ago, so that's going pretty well. By all means, you're going to want to watch that one because I have opinions to say about that game. I've done another Rate My Shelf, so I rated one of my... Which shelf did I rate there? Oh, yeah, the one over there with a bunch of small games that I haven't played in ages. So, yeah, that's worked quite well. I've done a top 10 list. In fact, I've done 2 top 10 lists. I've done my top 10 sandbox games, which I'd like to see hit the 10,000 mark by the end of the day. That would be nice, but, that's not doing too bad. I did release it on May the 15th, but as I say, it's doing fine, where I get to talk about open worldy sandbox style Euros and campaign games. And there was a live list as well. I did top 10 irritating designer decisions. I did it with Ninja Geek Games, Mark Monk. He's a buddy of mine. He comes from back where I live, around the Somerset Taunton way. And he'll be at the Games Expo. In fact, I'm actually teaching him and his friends a game of Hegemony. So that's going to be interesting. I think we got that planned for Friday evening, I believe. Yeah, I think that's a Friday evening thing. So that should be good fun. But yeah, we did the top 10 list there. Maybe one day he'll buy himself a headset, but the audio's not too bad, even with echo cancellation. But it was a good fun list where we basically just talk about things that pop up in designs that we wish would stop. And it's anything from randomness in long games to event decks to, stupidly overpowered broken cards, those sort of things that irk us. 2,000 views. Not bad. I'd like to see more, but it's not too bad. Usually these live collaboration lists are very hit and miss. Sometimes they do really well, and sometimes they don't, as can kind of be seen as I scroll down the views here. There are definitely some that have worked better than others, but then some of these are very old. Like they're capping out on their views, and there's only so much more they're going to get. So I do need to do more live streams though, because I wasn't overly operating it was quite a challenge, I must admit. But maybe, I suppose if it's not collaborations, I probably should do a few more live stream top 10 lists, because there are a lot of top 10s I would like to do, for basic topics like best and worst of a designer or a publisher, that kind of thing. And it's very difficult to do those in the normal format all the time, because that would just take up far too much time. Doing a live one every now and again, even if it's a shortened one, might not be too bad. And, cool, blimey, I'm destroying part of my setup here as my drink is sticking to the cup holder. I would like to do things like best and worst of Lacerda, or best and worst of Garfield Games, best and worst of a particular publisher, for example. So those would be quite cool to do, maybe as like shortened live top 10s. That'd be good. Well, top 10s, best and worst live streams. That might be quite interesting to do. So I have to work on that. Oh, just a little bit of cold ice orange there. Very nice. So yeah, there's some stuff to check out. By all means, check out that top 10 live stream, check out the Unsettled review, and check out the sandbox list. Those are the sort of the main highlights from recent months. In terms of what's coming up in the future, not a lot. Really not a lot. I've got open season which is a little game from Sit Down Games that's ready to be edited. So that should hopefully come out. If I can find time to edit it late, I hope to get it released this week before I go to the Games Expo. That would be ideal if I could get it out before the Expo. I'm certainly not going to be releasing anything during the Expo. I've just got too much to do, too much time. I've got a lot to deal with this week as well as the Expo. So don't expect any content to release while I'm at the Expo. But I'll try to get open seasons edited before I go, because that should be a relatively quick edit. And then afterwards, I'm slightly low on stuff I can do. The most recent review copy I've got is Peacemakers from Snowdell Design, but there's an embargo to not release content on that until at least around July time. So that one is just going to have to wait. You're going to have to wait a while before I can really give much on that other than Instagram feedback. So don't expect anything on the podcast for that. And there's not really anything else review copy-wise, but maybe the Expo will change that. I might get a few games at the Expo that I can review depending on what's there. So we'll see how it goes. I might just have to do some more top 10 lists, like those live streams I mentioned. Well, I'm sure that'll please a bunch of you. So we'll wait and see. This is just not generally a high... there's not a lot of reviews that can be given at this time. So we're not doing any... Let's Plays and that. This one is entirely focused on the Games Expo, because the Games Expo has a decent amount to talk about, both good and bad. So for those of you not sort of affiliated with the UK in any way, the Games Expo is basically our convention. It by no means compares to something like Gen Con or Essen Spiel, but it's what we have. I know that sounds like a bit of a, not the most glowing review, but it's more... rather than being like, oh, this is the new hotness event, this is more where you get to find out about lots of obscure games you would never have otherwise heard of. It takes place at the NEC Centre in Birmingham, and a lot of indie publishers go to this one. So you get a lot of back alley games, as I like to call them, where you've never heard of them. One person designed it, maybe with his wife or something, and it's tiny. It's got a table as a stand, nothing major. But you get to find out about a bunch of these. Now, I'm not going to lie, I don't tend to get excited for that kind of stuff. I am trying to find the new big stuff, as a blogger and that, so I don't tend to see a lot of the indie stuff. But the show itself, it takes up 2 halls as well as a couple extra for open gaming and such. You've got all the stuff like, cosplay groups and some seminars and live entertainment and bits like that. Honestly, I don't really go for that stuff either. I don't go to any live shows. I don't do any any particular major things. Maybe I just like to go there, have a look around the trade show, say hi to people I haven't seen for a while, and play some games. That's mainly it. I treat it more as a mixture of trade and game playing. Some of these things I do not touch, but I'll get onto sort of why in a minute. But yeah, there are a few little events that you can do if you have time. I'm unlikely to have time to do a lot of these things, but by all means, come and say hi if you spot me, because there's a chance I might just be browsing and not doing a huge amount. The show takes place from Friday to Sunday, so 31st of May to Sunday the 2nd of June, but there is a press preview event on the Thursday, which I go to, which is a couple of hours to, get an idea of what's at the show. And honestly, I tend to leave a lot of my research for that event, because that's when I get to see the game up close and actually talk to someone about it, rather than just seeing a picture and looking on Board Game Geek or other sources. So the press show is actually quite useful for me at the Expo. Plus, I also get to see a lot of the other content creators that are there, both good and bad, but, I get to see a lot of people there. So it's quite a useful aspect. So I'm there for 4 days. Well, I think I'm going to be taking regular drinks at this rate. The format of the show, like I said, 3 days. There's a couple of things I want to talk about in terms of things I recommend and things I don't. Firstly, open gaming is still pretty good there. You've got a couple of halls that are devoted to, NEC Hall 3, it's devoted entirely to open gaming, and the Hilton Hotel is also open for open gaming, so you can just go there and try some games that you've bought at the convention. What I don't recommend is the board game library. The board game library in the past has been not to put too fine a word on it, crap. It really has been, especially the library that you see in the halls. Maybe the Hilton one's a better one, but the one in the halls is horrible. Put it this way. A couple of years ago, I remember going to the library hoping to find something to play, and I saw 3 copies of Mansions of Madness 2nd edition, that were listed in the Eurogames category. Where do I even begin with what is wrong with that? I mean, let's maybe gloss over the fact that it's in the wrong category of games. Let's gloss over the fact that it's free copies of a game that's barely getting played. Why don't we just focus on the fact that this is an open gaming session at a convention with a ton of noise, and you expect somebody to just pick up and play a game that is app-driven, so it requires you to have a tablet for the app. Do you honestly think people are playing this on their mobile phones? And requires you to have enough audio clarity to hear what's going on in the app. You think someone's going to be playing this 3 times at the convention? Anybody could tell you that is a dumb choice for a board game library. And for some reason, they had 3 copies of it. But I find that the library just doesn't have enough games in it. It's bereft of choice. If you're going to do open gaming, play what you've bought at the show, or bring a few of your own games. It just do not rely on the library. It really is that bad. But that blemish aside, open gaming is still pretty cool to do, and I'll certainly be doing plenty of that. So you might spot me around the show. In fact, one note on that, I have ordered some new polo shirts because the ones I had were too thick, too heavy, too hot. They were too heat-inducing, and they also were too small. I bought large, thinking, you know what, something that's close to my skin would be good. Nope, because I overheated and they were too tight, and basically I'm already fat, therefore I don't need to have a polo shirt emphasize the fact that I have a massive gut. So, I've ordered a few new ones, and, they're much lighter, they're built for summer, so they are thin, and they will have my logo at the front, the Broken Meeple, and they will have my circular logo on the back, although I'm a little bit concerned that it might be a bit small. I was kind of hoping they would do a bigger logo, but hopefully it means that you might be able to spot me at a distance if you keep an eye out for the logo. So, hopefully that will be fine. I'll be wearing one every day. So I think I'm ordering 7 of them so I can cater for Essen. But yeah, I'll have one for each day of the show, so that will not change. By all means, hopefully that'll work. What else? Okay, so the seminars. Yeah, there's a few seminars, discussions, and panels. I don't tend to go to these, frankly, but some people will be going out live. So, I mean, does it actually give any indication of who's there? Nope, that's kind of weird. But basically, go to the ticket show, have a look in your brochure and look for the live seminars. And by all means, if they're ticketed, grab a ticket because they probably will sell out. And get in the queues early so you can get a half-decent seat. That's certainly recommended. The bring and buy, oh boy. I do not touch the bring and buy with a barge pole anymore because the bring and buy is just, I can't swear on this podcast, but it's a cluster because it's absolute chaos. In the previous year, I saw people queuing with trolleys of games for what seemed like 2 hours just to get them dumped into the thing. Now, I hear that they have restricted it more. I mean, according to this page, only 20 items, which is good. Thank God for that. And if you are caught using multiple accounts, all your items will be withdrawn, so don't try to cheat the system. You're not allowed to change prices, so that is the price. And minimum price is £5, so, no putting in random cheap stuff. So it sounds like it's better this time round, but I'll wait and see before I pass judgment on that. But in the past, it's been absolute hell. I mean, too many games, people trying to sell every last thing they can, stupid inflated prices. And because it's hard to regulate everybody going in through a big queue system, the chance of your game being nicked or having components thefted from it is actually relatively high. So I just do not trust the bring and buy anymore. So I never bring stuff to sell for the bring and buy. I always just do it in advance, or preferably don't sell stuff at the Games Expo. Annoyingly, I have sold some playmats recently, which people do want to pick up at the Expo, so I'm making an exception for those. But yeah, I don't like to do pickups at the Expo because the problem is you park. Well, we'll get onto the parking a bit later, but suffice to say, it's not easy to carry around a bunch of stuff that you're just there to sell. And even queuing up for the bring and buy. If you're going to go to the bring and buy, queue up in advance. This thing, and go at non-busy times. The queue for the bring and buy is usually obscene. If you really want to go to the bring and buy, you need to do it first, get there early, or maybe wait to the end of the day. But try and go to the bring and buy in the middle of the day. I double dare you, and see how long it is you're queuing for that. So it does sound like they have at least made some concessions to make it a bit more manageable this year, but All I'm saying is that in my history, the bring and buy has been problematic, to say the least. So, all right. So, how are we going to actually get round the expo? Well, there's a let's see, have I got it? Yes, here we go. A lovely chap called the Offline Gamer has each time the expo comes around, he does an unofficial annotated map. There's an official non-annotated map on the Games Expo website, which is fine. But if you actually want to know where people are and not look up a giant reference list, this guy basically prints out an annotated version for everybody to download. So you won't be able to read it on the screen because it's very small text in that. But basically, this is the two halls that are operating with all the different stands, and they've all got written next to them which stand is which, as well as logos to shorten it in some respects. This is an invaluable tool to have. I mean, you can print this off in advance, see where all your favorite publishers are going to be, highlight them all, and then basically plan your route in advance. And it even has stuff like the restaurants and the restrooms. I mean, you're definitely going to want to know where they are. And and basically, it's just a very useful guide. I will certainly be printing this off. I will certainly be making my notes. Not that I need to make many notes for this. And honestly, I can't recommend enough that you have a look at this map. Offlinegamer.co.uk, or just Google Offline Gamer Annotated UK Games Expo Map 24 or something like that, and you will find this person to actually do it. So by all means, grab this map. It's invaluable. So thank you very much for actually making it every year. Anything else to mention from the events going on? Not so much, but I think I need to mention a few things in terms of first timers. So they have a first timers guide. So they do have like a few things here about taking in the show, have a snack, getting dressed up and stuff. Although here's the more useful stuff that you kind of need to know. Firstly, how do I even get there? Well, if you get there on the train, which thankfully there won't be any strikes this time by the looks of it, that caused chaos in one year, you can get a train directly into the NEC Centre itself, and that is very useful. It's right next to the Birmingham International Rail Station, so if you're able to stay outside and be close to a train, and then you get the train in each day, then that actually provides a very convenient way to get to and from the show. The only problem is if you stay there late for open gaming, the amount of trains heading back might be a little bit on the restricted side, so be wary. Not to mention that if something did go wrong with the train, you are kind of stuffed. So that is a little risk, but it's a nice way to do it. Now, I'm not going to go about coach, bus, and air, because I'm pretty sure most people aren't flying every day to the expo, but by car. So they have, let's see, hopefully they've got the parking thing here, but essentially let's see, here we go, car park area. They have various car parks open for the show, and you might not be able to see it easily on the screen, but I believe it's these navy blue ones here, the E section, the East car parks. That's what you get to go in each time. And it's a bit of a trek to walk from there to the NEC. You can do it, and if you stay there till late evening, you will have to walk back to your car. But, it's probably a good 15-minute walk to get back to your car. The good thing with this, though, is that there is a shuttle bus that goes fairly frequently throughout the day. So all you got to do is wait for that bus, get on it, and it'll drop you right outside the front door. That is very useful, particularly when you've got to carry a bunch of stuff maybe early in the day, or in my case, if I want to drop a bunch of stuff back into the car, I can get on the shuttle bus, get driven back to the thing, and then just wait for the next shuttle to take me back to the expo. It uses up a bit of time, but I'd rather do that than mess around with carrying stuff. There is a shop and drop facility at the expo, though, so you can visit that stand where I believe you're able to sort of put stuff around. Almost a bit like a cloakroom thing. You pay a bit of money and they'll hold on to your stuff. That can be very useful, so I might even partake in that this time round, because I'm not exhibiting at all this year, so I'm not doing any help for a stand in that, which means I don't have a convenient drop-off point. But the East car parks are definitely where you would end up, and use the shuttle bus. It's very handy. But if you don't want to wait for the bus, you can just walk. If the weather is good and you want a bit of sun, it's a very easy straight line walk to the expo. It's just going to take you a little bit of time. And bear in mind, you're going to be walking around the expo all the time, so how much walking do you want to do? Now, one thing I will say about these car parks, there is a lot of spaces, but the shuttle bus goes to various spots, you're going to want to park quite close to where the shuttle bus stops. I do recommend that. But I'm hoping this year it will be less problematic, because when we had the train strikes in the previous year, we had some major issues with regards to the parking. Because you couldn't get there by train, everybody had to drive, which means there was a massive queue to get in there no matter how early you turned up. It made life hell for me. Now, because you can get on the train this year, there are no train strikes planned, this should be a thing of the past, and so it should be easy enough to get there. But I'm definitely probably going to take a slightly prudent approach and get there reasonably early, even if it means I have to wait out the front doors for a bit. I'll probably get there a bit early to see how it is. If I determine that the whole chaos is over, then fine. And plus, it also means that you can get a car park space right next to the first shuttle stop, which is very handy if you can get on that one. So by all means, it might be worth coming in early each time if you're going to drive, but it probably won't be as bad as it was in the previous year because there won't be any strikes. But that's what I can say on that. So yeah, car parking definitely doable. Now, how much does it cost? Well, that is the $1,000,000 question, I think, because nobody has ever checked the car parking whenever I've been there, but you pre-book it essentially. So your online booking of the NEC car parks, it's £25 if you're going to park for 3 days there. So it's basically the equivalent of about £8 a day, just over £8 a day, which is not cheap, but it's not too bad either. I mean, let's face it, most, were they UCP or, the NCP car parks, they charge like £12 just to stay for a day anywhere. So, it's still not too bad a rate, but you need to pre-book it. So there's on the Games Expo link under car parking, basically there is a way that you can pre-book the car parking. You need to do that in advance. So by all means, get on and book that if you are planning to drive. Thursday evening does not have a car parking arrangement, so you might have to pay separately on that day. Although, between you and me, because there's no event on the Thursdays, and you tend to finish quite late because of the open gaming, I've never had a problem parking on a Thursday, just slotting myself in and just getting on with it. So, we'll see. I mean, I don't think they have the staff to check a lot of the car parking, and I'm pretty sure they don't have an automated registration thing like for your number plate and that. So particularly when you get there late. So it is kind of odd what to do really with this. Do you pre-book it or do you not? But, we'll have to see. The shuttle bus, as it says, loops from between 8:30 until 7 o'clock. So this is the other thing. The Expo time, I think they open at 9. So the shuttle bus doesn't actually start until 8:30. So you might just have to sit at the shuttle bus for a while or just walk there in advance, I guess, whichever you want to do. In fact, does it have the opening hours? Here we go. The opening hours of the convention, 9 a.m. Yeah, so it starts at 9 and shuts at 6, except for Sunday where it shuts at 4, which is quite handy because I need to get home for Valheim evening games. So 4 o'clock, 7 o'clock, I would probably be leaving at 3 o'clock in the afternoon if I wanted to get home in time to eat and play Valheim. So yeah, there is that. But and then it's got the times for the different like board game library, role-playing gaming, hotel gaming, and the open gaming halls. So pretty much for the most part, they're open till midnight at the halls and about and even in the NEC Hilton. So I do recommend you get a good night's sleep for the Expo and not leave it too late. But yeah, pretty much if you want to game till late, you'll be able to game till late. All right. Anything else about the Expo recommended wise? Take comfortable shoes. Definitely take comfortable shoes. You're going to be doing quite a bit of walking. Not as bad as something like Essen Spiel, but it is hard concrete floors. There is certainly a decent amount of mileage you'll be doing. You'll certainly get your steps in. So make certain that you've got good comfy shoes. Take water, because I don't think they have, I can't remember if they have fountains there to load up on water, but there's plenty of restrooms where you can just go in and fill it under the tap. But I do recommend taking some kind of container for water because you are going to dehydrate there quite easily in these halls. So make certain you've got that. And food is incredibly expensive at this place. It is diabolical how much they charge for food and snacks and coffee there. So I recommend taking some snacks, something to get you through the day. You're probably going to have to get a meal at some point, but at which point, if you're going to pay that much money, you might as well go into one of the Subway sandwich places in the middle of the NEC itself. I find that's the cheapest method to get a meal. Or just go into the Resort World or whatever it is next door to the NEC and just get yourself a full meal in there. Because if you're going to be paying stupid amount of prices at the NEC Center, you might as well go make a meal of it at Resort World, where it's still not going to be cheap, but at least it'll be probably better value than buy anything at the center. But take snacks, crackers, nuts, fruit, nuts and seeds. I find I tend to like taking the odd apple and bag of trail mix. I think trail mix is good. So, dried fruit and nuts and seeds. I find that they are very good at kind of filling you up and giving you all the protein and nutrients you need in order to get through like most of the day. But yeah, you do find that you need to spend quite a bit of money on some food. So half of me is starving during the expo. So by all means, if you're going to buy me any food, I would appreciate it. But I try to minimize how much food I eat during the expo because it's just so much. Lovely. There we go. Right. So let's talk about some games then. I think that's enough information on the expo itself. By all means, if you see me, say hi. So games. Yeah, about that. There's not a lot of information out there with games. A few podcasters and YouTubers have put up some anticipated games, some that I can recommend. Ninja Geek Games has done his 10, and there's a few others that have done it. And then there's a couple who I won't give the time of day to because they insulted me recently. So yeah, you're not going to get any shout outs from me. But there is certainly there's not a lot of information from YouTubers in terms of what games to look out to. And it's not helped by the fact that unlike Essen Spiel, where not only is there usually a giant geek list of all the games, but also you get Tabletop Together do their tool for Essen, you don't get any of that for the Expo. All you get is this. This is a page on the Games Expo website for showcasing what new games are coming out of the show. And, well, not to put too fine a point in it, remember the word I used for the board game library? Well, what's worse than crap? This is a absolute trash way of showing your new games because the filters on here are new to buy, new to play, new to back, new to try. What is the frank difference between some of those? And even then, I can't filter by alphabetical order. I can't filter by publisher. I can't filter by designer. There's just not enough ways to make this useful. And even then, it's just a smorgasbord of random stuff. And I do mean random, because you might have a game here that's going to be fairly big and well-known. So there's Avalon the Riven Vale, for example. But then if I scroll down a little bit more and get to the F section, in the new games section, we have a folded space insert. Now, I like folded space inserts, but is this something you publicize as like, hot at the expo, new to buy, insert? No, it doesn't work like that. And then straight afterwards, a deck pod. GameGenic deck pod accessory. I can't facepalm hard enough. This list is such a cool way of finding out about these games. And so doing research for this podcast episode, it was really tough. It's one reason I hate doing the Games Expo games releases sometimes, because it's just such a nightmare to research it all. So what I'm essentially doing is I'm going to highlight a few games that I've already reviewed, because one thing I noticed I'm going to highlight a few games I've already reviewed that you should check out. And then I'm just going to go through a bunch of games. Some I know a little bit about, some I know nothing about, but I've just seen, people talk about them. And I'm just going to give a kind of like live impression of what I think, whether these games are going to be any good or not. Now, what I'm noticing a lot from some of the YouTubers is that they are very easily excited. They like literally a designer or publisher, they can just breathe on them and they'll suddenly say it's their game of the choice of the year. But there's also a lot of them highlighting games that were already released last year. There was a bunch of stuff that came out at Essen, and Essen had a few of the games coming out here were at Essen. So I've already talked about them. They've already technically had a release into the public eye. So to say it's a new hotness game for the Expo is kind of a little misleading. But there are some of them out there, and I will mention a few of them. Let's scroll down this list and just find out those ones. So I've already done a preview of Arborea from Alley Cat Games, so by all means you can check out that one. Let's see, Archaeologic, Ludonort Games, a deduction game, pretty sweet. I've done a review for that, so by all means check out that video. Art Society, Mighty Boards, that got released to Essen, and I think it's on retail as well. That one is a fantastic light game. By all means, go check that one out, but also check out my review. I've done a very positive review for that one. Scrolling down, I know there is a couple more. Nope. Coffee Rush, that one eluded me at the Essen, so I don't know if I'm that desperate to play it, but, so we go there. Dixit Disney, that is not a new game, for crying out loud. Dixit Disney's been out for ages. How is that like a new hotness game for the Expo? You can buy it retail. Go on, what is it? Forbidden Jungle? Not had a chance to play it, but I've heard mixed reviews about it, so I'm kind of not that excited about it. Where are the other ones I'm looking for? I think, what's the other one? I'll find it. Oh, yeah, here you go. A couple more. Maps of Mystera from Sit Down Games. It's a fine game. Nothing amazing, but, worth a look. Marvel Dagger, I've still got that on my shelf. A co-op fantasy flight game, kind of like Eldritch Horror meets superheroes. That's pretty sweet. By all means, you can check out that one. The main highlight, which I think also won an award as well for the Games Expo, although the awards are kind of a little bit weird, to say the least, was Redwood, which I might have accidentally skipped. Here we go. Redwood from Sit Down Games. This is a very cool game. I've done a review on this one. By all means, check it out, but that is definitely worth trying as well. So that is essentially the ones that are said as new hotness, even though technically they were already released. Now, I'm not going to scroll down this list and try and find other games to talk about, because as I say, there's a lot of stuff down here. I mean, you can just see as I scroll down that this is a shoddy list. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff that I know very little about, very little information. And look at this. I mean, here's a title of something. Here we go. Ada's Dream Alley Cat Games. Okay, I could click on it and I could find out a bit more now. But look at this. I've got things that just literally are a game about sequencing screenshots of an old anime. So where's the picture? Where's the screenshot or anything? In Auction Land here, there's a few, around that just don't have pictures, which you kind of really need. But even then, some of these just don't. I mean, here we go. Escape Death Race 2182. Where's the picture? You're just giving me a title and an age range. That's it. Come on, give me something to go on. So I'm not going to be using this list. I've basically filtered out a bunch of games that I'm interested in, some other people have mentioned, and we're basically going to just go through them. So let's start off with Avalon the Riven Vale, so an Arthurian game in which legends explore the misty Isle of Avalon. Well, I've already played the Tainted Grails to death, so I'm not sure I need another game in this universe, but, we'll go with it. 2 to 4 players, area control exploration, leading mighty factions through the Vale to discover what awaits on the mystical side of Avalon. So this is done by Shadowborn, who I believe also did Oathsworn, which was a game I liked, but it was another campaign game. It took too much time, and I didn't want to finish the whole thing. And it was quite a bit of a rules behemoth to get through. So this one could be another, surefire hit. But the thing is, if this is another campaign game, then I'm not interested, because I'm done with, doing massive long campaigns. Now, this one doesn't mention that it is a campaign game, but it's Shadowborn Games. So it makes me still think that this is one. If it is just a one-shot game that takes a couple of hours, then this could be something I'm interested in. But there's not a lot to really show about it. I mean, they're just showcasing the size of the miniatures, which, let's face it, it's not difficult to do good-looking miniatures anymore. I'm sorry, but getting excited about miniatures should not be anything that anybody cares about anymore, because it's not difficult to do them anymore. Technology has got to the point where miniatures can be made to look good. But all it does is that it jacks up the cost, and a lot of the times the miniatures aren't even worth it. I still don't play Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition with any of the miniatures in that game. It's much better to use artwork tokens. Another drink. But, I'd give this one a look. I'm curious to see if it's campaign or not. If it's campaign, not interested. If it's a one-shot, I'll give it more of a look. Cities by Devier Games. Now, Devier Games don't tend to make a lot of stuff I go mad for. They've done a couple of slightly better ones lately, like the White Castle, but most of the time, they tend to make okay games or average games, but nothing that I can really get my, heart behind. Now, Cities is not exactly screaming out a particularly great title, but it is done by Phil Walker Harding. That, gives me a little bit more of a, and Steve Finn. So those two names together could work quite well. It's only supposedly 30 to 40 minutes, although never trust the time on Board Game Geek or the publisher box. But still, this sounds like a very small game. City building. I like city building games. It's a genre I quite like as a theme. Draft the best projects, arrange them in your own playing area, so it looks like it's a tile game. Action and resource draft mechanisms. It will give you the opportunity to visit the cities of Sydney, okay, various cities. Can you design the best neighborhood? So we got 8 rounds. Use their workers to collect a scoring card, a city tile, featured tiles, and building pieces. And then you essentially build up from there. So, I mean, it looks a little abstracted. I mean, this kind of gives me a vibe of, what was that game called? Manhattan. Yeah, you remember the sort of clear plastic buildings you had in Manhattan with those skyscrapers? It's giving me a kind of vibe for that. So I'm worried that this is going to look too much like an abstracted puzzle rather than actually a bit of a city. I mean, looking at these scoring cards here, they mostly are just patterns. I mean, it's looking like, arrange it in this pattern, arrange it in this pattern. And that's not really what I want from a city building game, but it's short. It hopefully will have simple rules. It will not store in the box. I'm pretty much going to guarantee that. Devir Games seem incapable of making boxes big enough to store their games, which is going to be frustrating in itself. But, I mean, I'll give it a look, but I'm not... Other than the fact that Phil Walker Harding's name is on the box, although it does look like a bigger box size for Devir Games, I'll give him that. But, yeah, other than the fact that his name's on the box, I'm not really that excited for this. All right? And they've also done another game called Sand, which I'm even less excited about. From the Moon. So what do we got? Miguel Coimbra is the artist. That's a good sign because he does very good art. This is from Le Boîte de Jeu. Okay, Le Boîte de Jeu. So the same people who did my Tribes of the Wind game, which I really, really like. 19 minutes, craft workers, build bases, and save humanity. So the plan is to launch 3 survival missions before all life on Earth ends. Each faction contributes by building parts of the ships and building their own lunar base. Now, I've heard this one is kind of like a worker placement game where the rovers are your workers, but then depending on what people you shove in them, they can do different things and upgrade. So that sounds pretty good already. The map looks a bit odd. It kind of looks a bit like a sort of Robo-Rally-esque tile thing. But certainly does look quite involved. There's a lot of pieces. They're pretty cool. I mean, those rovers look pretty sweet. So big miniatures with spots to actually put the workers, and the workers being different colors will allow you to do different things. So this is kind of giving me that series game that I reviewed last year from Artipia Games. Kind of giving me that kind of vibe. But yeah, I mean, the miniatures do look pretty sweet in this. And I know that it's mostly a gimmick, but if it's a gimmick that works and it doesn't cost the ends of the earth, then fine, I guess. But yeah, I'm curious about this one. If it's got good, unique mechanics, that idea of sort of prepping up your rovers with different types of workers does sound pretty neat. It's not the first time we've seen it before, but the only thing that does worry me is that the graphic design looks a little all over the place and there's a lot to keep track of. But hopefully that means it's not too complicated. I mean, this looks pretty involved. This board here, which clearly must be the main board with the score track and everything. So we'll have to see whether this iconography is easy to understand, because there is quite a lot going on here, and I'm worried that it might just be a little bit too much of an information overload to make it an easy, breezy 90-minute game. But I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by this one. All right. Middle Ages. Don't like the artwork on the cover. Certainly not, although maybe the artwork on the tiles is a little bit better. Yeah, that does look a lot better than the board cover. But the main thing that piques my interest with this is because when I talked about Majesty for the Realm on my Meeple Cull video, people told me that this game existed, which is essentially a re-implementation of it. So, okay, Majesty for the Realm is a very cool filler game that is rather underrated. So to have a tweak to the system, maybe with some improvements or slight differences where they look like they're using tiles rather than cards, especially with the artwork that goes across all the pieces, which is quite cool. This could be pretty sweet. I am down to see whether this improves on the formula or makes it too complicated. Would it store better? So I would certainly like to give this one a look. I just wish it looked better from the cover. I mean, that cover is not going to attract people to this game, especially with a title just called Middle Ages. I mean, Could you make Majesty sound more boring? Well, this is a contender. But knowing that it's re-implementing that game means that I will at least give this one a look. Now, I'm looking at the Kickstarter for this one, Rebirth, because there's not a huge amount on the Games Expo page for it. And there's a lot of people getting excited for this one. I'm not, because of two words, Reiner Knizia. I know that there's a lot of people who suddenly go weak at the knees and, not to put too fine a point on it, slightly wet down below, whenever Reiner Knizia's name is mentioned on a game. I don't get the same kind of reaction. He's designed a bucket ton of games. Problem is, a lot of them are garbage. For every great game he's done, there's a garbage one. So I don't get that excited when a Knizia game comes by, especially as he doesn't know what theme is. So much like Stefan Feld, theme takes a back seat, which means all his games are pure mechanical. And you have to be really good to design a mechanical game with no theme that I'm going to latch onto. And Knizia doesn't tend to do that. And certainly not Stefan Feld either. Castle of Burgundy. But Rebirth has probably one of the nicest looking covers I've seen in a while. I'll give it that. This picture is absolutely gorgeous. But again, there's always a habit of the game looking nice and not necessarily being that much fun to play. So, and I can't even trust the Kickstarter because, let's face it, it's the same faces you see every time on Kickstarter, which basically means I can't trust the opinion too. But, it's just an advert at the end of the day. So this one looks like, let's see, an alternate version of Scotland. You're putting tiles out on your board with little towers. No doubt you're going to score for making like weird patterns and stuff. There's not a huge amount else I can see on this so far. Let me try and look it up on Board Game Geek a little bit and see whether that tells me a little bit more. So here we go. New tile laying game from Reiner Knizia. So revitalizes the classic genre by combining Knizia's elegant mechanics with mighty boards' evocative world building. I mean, does it? I don't know. The result is a Eurogame with smooth gameplay set in a lush and hopeful future. Yeah, whatever. It's not like the theme is going to matter here. So, what do you do? Each turn, players draw a tile from their supply and place it strategically on the board. These tiles represent your clan's contribution to rebuilding the land. Rebirth rewards strategic foresight and clever tactical play with tougher decisions emerging over the course of the game. Again, a lot of that is just PR speak, and it's the same advertising people doing stuff. I mean, it literally is the same three people. Board Game Co., Finger Femur, and Brother. It's like the same three people on every single Kickstarter page. I'm sorry, I don't trust adverts for games. So, will this be any good? I mean, Mighty Boards do put out some half-decent stuff. I mean, let's face it, Art Society, fantastic. But I don't know. I'm not that excited for a Reiner Knizia game, and this... I mean, I like the board. It looks very pretty, but this, I don't know. Am I getting Kingdom Builder vibes from this? I hope not. But it could be good. I don't know. But no way is this going to make me want to back it on Kickstarter. Just another tile laying game from Reiner Knizia. I'd have to try it. This would have to be a try before I even look at it type thing, because the designer doesn't get me excited. The premise doesn't get me excited. Really, it's just imagery that gets me interested. And I've already been burned enough times on games that look good and don't play good. So you put it in front of me, I'll try it. Just don't expect me to get massively excited for this, unlike a few people who literally just hear the word Knizia and instantly scream best of the year. All right, SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. This is from Czech Game Editions, so I'm intrigued. The cover looks pretty cool. I quite like this cover. Search for signs of alien life by launching probes and analyzing distant signals. Okay, so 1 to 4 players. Again, I keep saying the same. We don't need a solo mode in every game. The solo mode needs to be done well. You can't just slap it on. Let's see. You lead a scientific institution tasked with searching for traces of life beyond planet Earth. Okay. Explore nearby planets and moons by launching probes from Earth while taking advantage of ever-shifting planetary positions. Okay, so series has a little bit of that. Planetarium has a bit of that. There was a weird mining game that came out a while ago. Mining asteroids that was similar to that. So that's cool. Let's see. Additionally, by directing your telescopes to gaze into distant star systems, you may detect traces of alien signals and collect promising data. Okay, so I'm liking the theme of this. It's not space exploration per se. It's more, it's more broadcasting into space. So what you have to do then? All right, so you're actually exploring planets and moons, all with the probes. And then back on Earth, you can invest in upgrading your equipment so you can analyze incoming data, boost your telescope. I mean, this is a very unique theme. There's not a lot of spacey games that do this type of thing. This is already quite intriguing. You will make use of over 200 cards to aid your efforts. So each card has unique effects and illustrations and depicts real-life technologies and discoveries. Okay, so unique cards. I like that. Pays homage to space and planetary exploration. So, okay, so it's taking a theme that hasn't been done in the context of spacey games and is throwing a different spin on it. Let's see. So, yeah, this is going to be one of those rotating boards with changing layouts. Okay, cool. Unique hallmark of Czech Game Editions to have their little colored plasticky strepsils. Okay, the artwork and the graphic design looks fairly straightforward. A nice bit of flavored text to learn stuff. Okay, and I do like that box. There's something about that. It's just a very nice shot of, I mean, the subject matter is not exactly much to look at, a bunch of radar dishes, but, there's good amount of detail in this picture. It just looks very striking. If I saw that on a shelf, that bright blue watercolor artwork of the sky with the orange sunrise kind of glistening on those radar dishes, because the light's effectively reflecting off the farmland into the radar dish to create that orange glow. But this just does look cool, and I like the way the wording is done to show like the sound waves of the little bars that go across. When you see that beep beep beep, stuff like that. This is doing some good respects to its theme, I think. So this could be if I was to do a top 10, this could be a top 10 anticipated, I think. I'm very curious to find out more on this one. You had my curiosity. Now you have my attention. All right. Terminus. Now, I'm actually getting a review copy of this. So they asked me recently if I would like one, so I said yes. And I will get this one, so this will be a review in the future. Is that a good idea? I don't know, because it is train themed, but it is Inside Up Games and they did Earth. So, it's one reason that I can certainly say, okay, well, let's see what this one is. 90 to 180 minutes, so it's quite a long one. Edu Valls is the artist, so it will certainly look good, because Edu Valls, back in 23, I think, just basically was on a mission trying to paint every game in existence, but fair play to the guy, he does good art. And so what have we got here? So you and your competitors' transit companies have been hired by the city to build new subway lines. Manage assets such as time, money, and resources to build your subway line, gain prestige, fulfill city transit demands. Okay, so as much as I'm not a massive train game fan, I can kind of give a little bit of leeway to something like subway metro systems. I mean, I've got On the Underground, and I've played some other games in that vein. Subway systems, I think, are just, they're not more interesting, but they're just a bit easier to deal with than, say, transporting coal and iron on 19th century trains. It's the difference between something like On the Underground and Brass in terms of what trains are, or Imperial Steam, that kind of thing. I'm done with that kind of train stuff. But route connection stuff, like On the Underground, still is something I enjoy. And if this one's got an element of route connection and planning, then certainly that piques my interest as well. Apart from that, there is nothing else on this page. Wow, there really is nothing. There's a few videos. I know Paul Grogan's done a tutorial on playthroughs. I might have to have a look on that video. Sorry, Paul. It wasn't exactly the game I was pushing to see at first, so I haven't looked into this one that much. But yeah, no real images here. Oh wait, no, there are images. Why weren't they showing up then? What? Okay, so it looks very sort of abstract-y. Even though the art is Edu Valls, but this does look like it's got an element of route connection and planning the routes and stuff, so that's going to be enjoyable for me. There's a lot going on though. I mean, this is a busy board. A lot of art and pictures and symbols and that everywhere, so I've got to be a little bit wary of that, but I'm intrigued. I am intrigued. This could be a top 10 because I do like route connection side of things. I don't like the whole, like I say, it's the difference between Brass and On the Underground. On the Underground, I really like. It's because you're trying to plan out, and it's kind of like Ticket to Ride style mechanics of connecting routes. It's when it does Brass and Imperial Steam stuff that I couldn't give a monkeys. But this one looks to be a little bit more interesting. Subway system is a bit more relatable. It does look fairly striking. It just looked very busy as well, which is what I'm a little bit concerned with. But I'm down. I'm down for this. So by all means, I might check it out at the Expo. But if not, I'll get it for review at some point and give you my thoughts then. Cool. I got a lot to get through. All right. How far are we into this? 53 minutes. Okay, so we'll try and go for a few more. Windmill Valley. I don't know much about this at all. This is Board and Dice. It's got a very nice looking cover. It certainly can say that. Danny Garcia has done quite a few games. Late 19th century, and it's set in the landscape of the Netherlands. So basically the whole, tulips and flower type thing. Okay, cool. Game inspired by the Bloemen route. I don't know what that is. You and up to 3 players take on the role of tulip farmers and entrepreneurs. You will build and enhance your windmills, look for tulip bulbs in foreign trades, or among local vendors to buy and plant. So what do? So you rotate the wheels on your windmill board, and you can enhance your wheels. You can plant tulips in the field. You can build windmills, hire helpers, get contracts, visit a market. Lightweight game with quick turns, action selection mechanism, and multiple options to build your engine. Okay, I mean, that sounds cool from a theme perspective. Oh, that is quite a pretty board. It's quite a pretty board. A little busy on this map bit up here, but that suits the landscape. Wooden pieces. And the wheels certainly look cool, although this is giving me a kind of a shipyard vibe with all these Rondell wheels all over the place. So I hope it's a bit more interesting than shipyard. But that's going to be interesting. It is Board and Dice. Board and Dice tend to focus a bit more on the mechanical than the thematic, but the setting is certainly different, probably a bit more interesting. I'm curious. I can't say it's grabbing me just from knowing it's got a bunch of wheels and that, but it does have a unique setting, so I will give it that. The cover is very nice looking, but again, don't be fooled. 1 to 4, the classic 1 to 4 thing. 45 to 90 minutes, if they can keep it that short, that would be nice. They did say it was lightweight, although it does look like there's quite a lot going on for what they consider to be a lightweight game, so I guess I'll be the judge of that. And certainly anything that's weight 3.0 showing on board game, as much as this is a garbage thing to look at, the fact that it's already showing us 3 out of 5 weight rating does not give me the impression that this is light and quick. And Board and Dice don't seem to know what the meaning of light and quick is with a lot of their games, so I'll be the judge of that one, I think. World Order. Yes, of course, I am excited for this one. Mainly because they made Hegemony, like my 3rd favorite game of all time. Okay, it's naturally I'm interested to see what the sequel is. Now, being more of an area control style game with a few little twists does make me temper my expectations a little bit, but I believe I am in a session to play this with the designer. I think thanks to Paul Grogan, he was able to get me in on in fact, I have a feeling I'm actually in his game. Yeah, I think I'm playing this straight before I play Hegemony, actually, which is quite amusing. Play this straight into Hegemony. They'll be pleased to hear that. But yeah, I want to know about this game. This is one of those rare occasions where I would actually be tempted to do a preview video for the game. I really am picky about those ones because, as I say, I don't like the fact that they're adverts. So I do at least try to review the game like I did with the Earth Abundance review. But I'm, of course, curious to see what they do with this. China, Russia, the European Union, and America going at it for diplomatic power, economic strength, and military might. This, oh boy. I mean, if they can make this anywhere near as good as Hegemony, then this will be fantastic. But obviously, I'm going to be curious. It's area control, which does make me a little concerned. It's half the length of Hegemony, so it's obviously not going to be as involved as that one. But I'm curious. It's definitely on my hot anticipated list, mainly because of Hegemony. So by all means, let's see if they can do 2 for 2 and hope that Hegemony wasn't just like a one-off, not flash in a pan, but, like what's the word? Can lightning strike twice, basically? It's a bit like having the original Ghostbusters movie. Lightning struck for that one, and then it's never been particularly great since. So, you can't repeat it. You can't repeat that formula. So we'll see what this one's like. Definitely intrigued to try it. Okay, Yonder. I think I'll be in a small game of this with Sarah Shah, which, funny enough, Sarah and I do like to meet at the Games Expo, because obviously I don't see her very often from Board Games in a Minute. Lovely lady. and she's very friendly and very enthusiastic about stuff. It's only kind of adorable. But we're going to be doing a game through of Inventors of the South Tigris, which is not showing at the Expo, but she has a copy of it, and so she asked me if I wanted to join in the game, and hell yes, I want to join in the game with that, because I backed it, and it's Garfield Games. Of course I want to try it. So I'm really looking forward to that one, probably more than the rest of the games on offer. But, we are also, I think, doing a little game of Yonder. So I think this is only going to be like a 30-minute demo, but this is from Sinister Fish, so they did things like Villagers and Streets and Moon, I think the third one was, which are fine games. Villagers was decent enough, but a bit too clunky and a bit too long. Streets was way too clunky, but fine. And Moon, again, was fine, but it just took way too long. I mean, games of Moon took so damn long with more than 2 players. It was way too overwrought for what it needed to be. So they're not exactly people I get too excited about. But they've got another one called Yonder, which certainly does have a nice aesthetic to it. It's keeping that sort of cartoony-esque look from the rest. It's a worker placement game, though, so none of this sort of tiny card box, weird storage setup like before. Not a lot of imagery to go with the game, but I have seen some pictures sent on emails, which show pictures of the different races, skeletons, orcs, and stuff like that, because here we go, elves, goblins, ogres, dwarves, and skeletons. So the idea is that you're basically building up a city, and you've got sawmills, wharves, workshops, homes, and stuff that you build. So it's a city building game. But it's worker placement, and all the workers have different asymmetric rules to them. So it sounds like you pick a faction with a unique style of play, and you play a typical worker placement engine building game. So I like the sound of asymmetric factions. That definitely gets me interested. The idea that I think skeletons don't need food, and I think like ogres tend to like get stuff done quicker. I don't know, but there'll be various stuff. But I'm intrigued by this setup. I mean, that picture looks really cool. I like the fact that you've got this sort of big ogre thing doing plowing, elves behind them doing some like farming, and then you've got a skeleton on a boat here doing fishing. That's quite an amusing picture, but looks cool for the imagery. I think this could be, maybe this is something I'm a bit more interested in than, say, Villagers and Moon and stuff. So I look forward to the demo, and hopefully this might intrigue me further. Arcs, not something I'm that interested in. Leader Games did Fort. They also did Root and Oath. Those 2 games I'm not that big a fan of. Root's fine. I respect Root, but it's so fragile. You need the right group, so I just don't bother with it. But Fort I really love as a great little game. But Arcs, I know very little about because I haven't really looked at it. I mean, 2 to 4 players, sci-fi strategy, 60 to 90 minutes, so relatively short. Multi-use cards, copy the leader, pivot to new tactics, or take the initiative the next round. Okay, that sounds pretty cool. You define the objectives that everyone competes over to win. Interesting. Okay. Amass your navy for battle. Plan your strategy with 3 kinds of dice. Dice resolution for battle. That's a little bit concerning. But lots of wooden ships, custom engraved dice. I mean, it sounds cool. Again, the same faces. Does anybody else preview games? I need a variety of people on these previews, okay? I can't just have the same 3 people who are just there to shout, "This is amazing, buy it." All right, okay. I mean, it does look pretty cool. It is quite fun-looking board. Doesn't look too complex, but there's not a huge amount of information on this. And I think there might be a Kickstarter for it, but oh, blimey, that's quite a lot of text to read on the cards there. So I worry that this is going to be a little bit of a reading fest. But, I mean, could be interesting. I don't know. I don't get that excited for Leader Game stuff. I've not really had review copies of stuff from them in the past, and stuff like Oath is like way too big. It's like a game I'm never going to play. And Root is impossible to get played unless you have a regular group, because teaching it to new players is an absolute chore. I mean, put it this way, when it is actually recommended when teaching Root to just give everybody a $5 and tell them to get the app, that's a worrying thing when it comes to teaching Root. It really is better to learn the game that way. I'd rather fork out 15, 20 quid to give everybody the chance to learn a game on the app than teach it myself. Well, that's how much of a chore it is. So, I mean, it could be interesting, but I don't get that excited from their games, so we'll see. It's one that I would play, but I'm not really going to look into it that much. Behemoth Rise of Shadow, epic and immersive cooperative adventure game with elements of deck building, exploration, and innovative AI mechanics. Set in the future, blah, 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 blah. A small group of people and beasts play a crucial role. All right, so this is all just thematic stuff, not actually the mechanics. And I can't see any other files, not much in the way of information, no usual videos and stuff. Llamascape Games, what have they done? Llamascape. Small game design and publishing based out of London, UK. So, okay, it's a UK publisher. Ran by Andrea La Rosa. Okay, fine. And that's it. So they've done something called Don Quixote or something. Is that an older game? 2024? No, that's something that's supposedly coming out this year as well. So this is brand new. So they are really new. Okay. I can't exactly say if I'm excited or not. I mean, there's no imagery or anything. It's a cool picture, but again, cool pictures don't mean anything. So we'll see. Fine, we'll see. It's a new indie publisher, UK based. Good luck to you. Okay, Happy Home from Alley Captain Games. Now, this one, it's got me interested because it's Matthew Dunstan and Brett Gilbert. They tend to be a good pairing for games. It's 15 to 30 minutes, so it's going to be nice and short, nice and quick. 2 to 5 players. The other end of the spectrum. They haven't gone and shoehorned in a solo mode, but then they've also put the 5-player thing on there, which I bet 5 player is not going to be the best way to play this game. So with 2 to 4, just stick to your guns. Take a drink. But let's have a look. So, Happy Home. Now, this one, as I say, it gets my interest because of the designers and the fact that it's nice and quick and short. So this will be a nice simple game. Could be gateway level, and I'm always down for some more gateway games to show to people. What worries me with this is that it's the word polyomino. This is a genre that is being done to absolute death. This is very much, trying to squeeze every last drop of blood out of a stone while a little kid nearby cries, stop, it's already dead. It really is a genre that kind of needs to take a break. So what can you bring to the table that's new? Well, you're home decorating. So you move around the shop board, collect polyomino pieces, furniture tiles, and place them into your house, fill objectives, and complete sets of furniture. Okay. I mean, that is nothing new. It's a relatable theme. I mean, it gives me an impression of Dream Home, which I haven't played in ages. I haven't played that game in so long. But if this one is better than Dream Home, it could be a replacement. I mean, it's different mechanics, but it's the same theme effectively. But if it's quick, if it's very straightforward, that means it could be something easy to teach. But you are going up against Alice's Garden here and Cascadia when it comes... Well, Cascadia doesn't really count because that's not polyomino tiles. So let's go back to Alice's Garden. I have sung the praises of that game, and I'm pleased to see that more and more people online are trying the game out, putting up pictures. And some people have even said, oh, yeah, a recommendation from me. So I'm glad to hear that they've watched the show and that. Thank you very much. But yeah, I'm glad that Alice's Garden is getting a little bit more love these days. Not enough love, but, some. So you're going up against that, the quintessential polyomino gateway game, in my opinion. You've got a big hill to climb, Alley Cat Games, but one thing does make me a little bit more interested in this. The mechanic that it does. Does it show on here? So this sentence here. Moving ahead on the shop board to collect that perfect piece of furniture might seem like a good idea, but be careful. Moving too far will give other players more turns to collect furniture. This is using the market mechanic, or what do they call them? Is it the ratchet mechanic? I'm not sure, but basically the mechanic where you have a row of actions and you can go as far as you like, but you can't go backwards. So Patchwork used it as well for a similar thing. Now, this mechanic is one that I do quite like because it's that tense decision of going, right, well, I want to go and get that piece before someone else does, but if I run too far, then other people still get a lot of stuff to use. It's a cool, angsty mechanic that I think works well in a lot of games. So if this is going to be a more interesting version of Patchwork, effectively, then I'm down to try it. But as I say, it's 15 to 30 minutes. I mean, it's half an hour out of my life to see if this is a worthwhile gateway game. And chances are I might even be picking up a copy for review, so I'll be able to give you my thoughts on it in that respect. But, all I will say is that it's not enough to just simply have yet another polyomino game. We need to have something that brings something new, tries a different combination we haven't seen, or that we have seen, but, makes it as good as it can be. It's just the fact that this genre is so bloated, it's unreal, that you have got a steep hill to climb. So best of luck. I look forward to trying it. I'll give it a go. But as I say, I need to be impressed. Ironwood, I think this is the last one on my list. Ironwood, I couldn't care less. And it's got nothing to do with designers or publishers or anything. It's the fact that it says 2 players. Now, granted, it does say it can be done solo, but primarily this clearly looks like something that's meant to be played with 2 players. I don't get 2-player games to the table very often. This is from Mind Clash Games. Mind Clash Games have kind of dropped the ball a bit lately. I mean, I've liked some of their older stuff, but Perseverance and, the whole Perseverance thing I wasn't a fan of. It was fine, but way too overwrought. The recent one they did, Voidfall, fine if you want to play it solo, but just so much fast, so much setup, so many rules, so expensive. It's like, why would you go through that lengths to play a solo game when you can play something just as meaty for a lot shorter? They're not bringing it. They're not bringing their A game like they used to for me. So that drops my excitement for this a bit. But also, it's an asymmetric card-driven tactical duel. So it's like a card-driven tactical skirmish game. We've seen this done to death as well. This is not exactly a genre that's crying out for more content. So if anything, this genre just really doesn't excite me. The board doesn't look like much. I mean, this is clearly a smaller release for what they do, but then they also tried the smaller release with Astra. And how well is that doing? Just saying. But, this one, it could be fun. Maybe it'll work fine solo. I know Mark Dainty's spoken highly of this. He likes a lot of Mind Clash stuff, but, he has done, I think he's done some video content of this, he's done some video content of this, I'm pretty sure. And he says it's pretty sweet. So, certainly, and bear in mind that he's also a devout solo player. So from a solo perspective, this could be a game I quite like. But is it going to be simple enough? Is it going to be overwrought with rules? Is it going to bring anything new to the table rather than just being another 2-player skirmish game? Certainly, I can't really tell what's going on this map board. I mean, where's the separation of the locations? I can't tell where these I mean, is that a region? Are they separated by the walls? I don't know. It seems a little bit unclear. But, I'm sure a reader of the rules will tell me otherwise. So, as I say, I would try it, but I'm not in the market for a solo skirmish card game. There's been so many of them, and I have enough card games to play solo as it is. So I would try it if you put it in front of me, but I'm not going to go out of my way for it. It is only 30 to 60 minutes, though, so probably an hour per game if we're going to be accurate, because you never take the low figure, you always take the high figure. It could be interesting, but it's just not going to get me that excited. I mean, what does it say about it? Rules light. This is Mind Clash Games. You don't know the meaning of rules light. Highly asymmetric, card-driven tactical game. Each round, you alternate playing the total of 3 of your faction-specific cards for their action effects. These include positioning your warbands, initiating combat, extracting crystals, passive effects, everything you've seen in every game of Magic. When combat occurs, you will use the same cards for their combat values instead, in a simultaneous bid to gain combat bonuses, fend off casualties, and augment the dominance value of your warbands to win the combat. Okay, all right. 2 factions are completely asymmetric, so hopefully they're balanced. I mean, that is very hard to get them to be balanced. And that just goes into how each 2 of them works. Features a low upkeep solo mode against the Ironclad or the Woodwalkers. Although both solo opponents work on the same main principles, each of them bears its faction's unique aspects and features. So, it could be interesting. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure Mark Dainty did. Yeah, he did an unboxing, but I feel like, there he is. Yeah, How to Solo. How to Solo, not board gaming. So, give him a look. See what he says. But, I don't know. Could be interesting. I'm just not excited for it. So, yeah. I think we'll wrap that up there. 1 hour and a quarter. I think that's more than enough. I don't know. Let's have one quick browse of the list on Games Expo just to see if there's anything there that takes my interest. I'll take Dawn of Civilization. Okay, let's have a look at this one. So, unique version of deck building, civilization development, and area expansion. Okay, that's already 3 good things I like there. well, maybe not area expansion, but certainly the first two. Four societies have cultivated distinct cultures, blah, blah, blah. Advanced crafts, Western techniques. Your response to the problem is that doesn't really tell me anything. All right, let's have a look. Alte Dawn of Civilization. So this is Ares Games. Okay, 13 to 90 minutes, 2 to 4 players. Don't recognize the... actually, no. Oh, no, Palamorian, Ole Steiners. Okay, no, I recognize those designers. Let's see. So what is the mechanics of this? So deck building, civilization. That. So what do you have? Players control 4 factions, each represented by a starting deck with unique cards and with subtle differences in the number of basic cards. Use your cards to produce resources, build new settlements and expand, attack or defend, manipulate their decks. Nice. Okay, so players can also spend resources to develop achievements. Victory is granted by a combination of things. All I can see is artwork, which looks quite cool. It's quite an interesting looking cover, although I'm not sure I'm a fan of the style of artwork, frankly. I'm intrigued, but not much I can really say about that. I mean, new to try. Okay, so if there's a demo of it, I might give that one a look. What else we got? Put a drink in my hand as I scroll down this list. Oh, most of these indie stuff, kids stuff, or, I mean, like 3 Degrees of Chess and Checkers. Really? Coffee Rush, I might get a chance to finally try that one, I guess. Cyclades, the Legendary Edition. Cyclades is fine, but you can know it was only decent when you played it with the Titans expansion. Now, does this Legendary Edition include that? Who knows? But basically, the original game just made movement so restrictive it wasn't fun. Okay, so Doggerland. What name to call that? Let's see. Dog Park expansion. I've not played Dog Park. And the reviews to it don't seem like... I would like the theme, but I don't think mechanically it's got enough there. Fate Forge, it's another sort of campaign-y scenarios type sort of game from Mighty Boards. Sounded interesting, but it's just not a genre I'm desperate to go into right now. Forbidden Jungle already mentioned. From the Moon already mentioned. Get on Board. I mean, I've already got one Get on Board. I don't need more than one. Happy Home, we've already mentioned. Another Hero Quest. Is people actually buying the Hero Quest that's released? Horror on the Orient Express, the board game. I mean, some people have talked about this one, a Cthulhu based on there, but I don't know if it's one that I'm desperate to look into. You know, is it going to be a fun one? But also, it's not even like, I mean, was it launched on Kickstarter in 24? I'm not sure if it has already been released in early 25. Released in early 25, that must have been on Kickstarter already then. Actually, oh, here we go. So look, so Kickstarter. Oh god, yeah, this is already at it. So yeah, I'm a bit late to this party. But I mean, it's got a cool miniature of a train. Great. It's Cthulhu themed. It's based off a fairly famous story of the Cthulhu lore. I don't know. I'd try it, but this is one of those occasions where it looks like it's releasing everything in the kitchen sink in the Kickstarter. I'm sure the price was not low. What do we got here? $98 for a basic, and then you got 145, 175, 229. Yeah, it's another one of those expensive Kickstarters. So I don't know. I'll try it when it comes out. Let's see. What else we got? There's Ironwood. Not seen much else. Life and Terror. I don't know much about that one, although I think Dice Tower just reviewed it recently. What else we got? Medici. Ugh, don't want that. Anything else? No, not seen anything that jumps out. There's a lot of weird stuff here. Oh My Pigeons, really? That is something that we're going to get excited for. Money Coco. I have no idea what that is. What on earth is that? Perseverance Castaway Chronicles Episode 3. You'll actually be able to play that one. Well, not to say I didn't like Episode 1 and 2 enough. I think I reviewed it and I gave it a 6. That was probably optimistic. I probably should have given that a 5. I mean, it's not bad. It's just far too faffy and too much luck involved in certain respects. So, yeah, not one. By all means, go check out Redwood, Sand. Sand isn't really getting... In fact, I think we'll probably wrap it up there. So sorry if you are a bit later in the... like, in the pecking order there, but I don't know. Let me look at Sand here. So Sand... Sand from Devier Games. Again, I looked at this one briefly, but nothing about it really struck me as anything I was going to get behind. So earn as much gold as you can by transporting goods across the desert. Okay. It's probably going to be a small box again, which means you won't be able to store it. No, there's a couple of... Oh, gee. Who has a... well, Dice Tower have done a review. Apart from that, it's the same people previewing it. Okay, well, we'll see. I mean, it's a lot of yellow. If you like yellow, then great. Cubes. Imagery doesn't look too bad, but the thing is, when I read on the mechanics of this one, it didn't really get me that excited. So here we go. Here, so yeah. So you put yourselves in the shoes of desert travelers who travel to pass the border to visit different towns. They collect goods to take them to other places, thus earn gold for the transport service. They cross the dunes on the back of camels, on the backs of their faithful caterpillars. Okay, so this is a weird sort of weird fantasy theme. Why didn't they just go with camels and just make it realistic? They collect goods, blah, 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 blah. Which cared for will grow and help players complete their tasks more effectively, so you can take care of your mounts. Along the way, you'll be joined by helpful companions and entrusted with missions. I mean, some of this sounds okay, but I think it's just the fact that it looks more like a pick up and deliver eco game, and that doesn't really, that's not something I could get that massively into. It also looks like a lot of pieces, which I'm no doubt is going to store in the tiniest of boxes ever. A lot of this just looks like tracks. I mean, here's the classic, twisted cube, square, diamond track, or whatever it is that you want to call them, for all sorts of things to track. And it's just like, I don't want a game that's just tracks and nothing else. Although those caterpillars are very cute. It's a very cute picture of the mount you've got. It's like, oh, it kind of reminds me of befriending a bug in Deep Rock Galactic, where you can, Steve. Yeah, where you can befriend a bug, call it Steve, and you can give it pats and stuff. It kind of reminds me of that. But, okay. I mean, maybe it'll be all right, but again, just a bunch of tracks. I mean, look at this. This player board of yours has a load of these different color cubes, which I'm sure means something thematically, but you'll forget instantly what they are because they're just cubes. 5 tracks to keep track of, with various stuff. So this looks to be a very mechanical, tracky Euro game, and that really doesn't appeal to me from a visual aspect. So there we go. Right. Cool. My throat is sore, and I need to get this edited and uploaded, but yeah, I can't exactly say that was the most enthusiastic I've been when previewing the Games Expo, I must admit. But a lot more games I'm interested in come out at Essen, and even then, lately, it's harder to impress me with games because so many come out. Tom Bassel did a recent video of the problem with the fact that so many games come out that you can't play them all. I mean, I've listed a bunch there. I won't be able to play all of those at the Expo. It's not going to happen. Some of those I might not even get to play in my life. There's just way too many games, and I think it's hurting the industry having too many games out because you just can't play them all. It also means it's harder to stand out. So there may be a game in there that's an absolute gem, but because there's so many games, it won't get the limelight it should. And some little games do come out of the woodwork, like Alice's Garden I mentioned earlier. Nobody's pretty much heard of that game, but it's a really good gateway game. So the problem with so many games out is that it's also hard to innovate and show me something different. So that, like I was saying with games like Happy Home and Ironwood, these are genres we've done to death. You've now got to show me something you can do with this genre that someone else hasn't done. Otherwise, why are you designing it? You need to improve on something that's already been done to the point where it would replace said game, or you need to introduce something new that means you stand out as a unique title that can be considered alongside all the rest. Otherwise, what's the point? So we shall see. But by all means, hopefully that stuff at the start was useful info for you to get into the Games Expo and get around. It's not the most arduous convention to get around. It's just a bit of a faff in terms of the parking and sort of getting into the front doors. But once you're in the trade show, it's pretty easy to navigate, especially if you get that map I mentioned. So yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up. So hopefully I will see some of you at the expo. By all means, say hi. I'll have the polo shirt. I'll be in the open gaming a fair bit, but then I'll also be in the trade show. So I'll pretty much be in the trade show and the open gaming for like 95% of the time. It's unlikely I'll go to the Hilton Hotel. Because it does get quite noisy in there, and I've no reason to go into the Hilton, frankly, because I feel like I would get more of my open gaming just done in the halls, frankly. And I think Gaming Rules has an area of places where we can sit and game. So we'll be able to actually sort of hang out a bit. So I think I'll be doing most of my open gaming, if not all of it, in the halls, unless somebody drags me to another place. And obviously I'll be around the trade show. So just come and say hi. If I'm in a hurry, then I'll let you know. But frankly, apart from some late afternoon, early evening stuff I've got planned, I shouldn't be in a hurry too much. So, walk with me if you have to. But yeah, just say hi. Don't be afraid. I'm not like a big celebrity or anything. I'm just a guy who rants about board games. But, if you like what you see, if you like what you hear on the show and you just want to say hi and a thank you, then by all means, I'll thank you for it, because it does make my day to speak to you guys. So that's it for me. I'll see you on the next episode of The Broken Meeple. Remember, it's only a game. Bye for now. Love you all. Take care.